Hello and welcome to the Soundtrap EDU Summit. We are kicking this summit off this time with what we like to call episode 0. This is kind of like the introduction, everything you need to know, kind of like the preamble of sorts to the entire summit. And my name's Matt Miller. I'm the author of Ditch That Textbook, taught high school Spanish for more than 10 years, and now do lots of, speaking and writing and all of that through Ditch That Textbook, and also have the incredible opportunity to be the host of the Soundtrap EDU Summit, which I'm super excited about. And I'm super excited that you're joining us because we have a fantastic week of wonderful content for you to check out. And so we want to kind of give you the heads up about what's coming, what to expect, what's changed, and all of that. And I keep using the word we, and I know that it's just me. So let me bring the rest of the we in, shall we? So we've got Taylor Hahn and Audrey from Soundtrap, and we're going to kind of give you the heads up of what's going on. So let's do introductions real quick. Taylor, can you tell everybody real quick who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm based in Austin, Texas these days. My background is in music. You can probably guess what instrument I play.
Surprise.
And I was teaching percussion for a few years before I found Soundtrap and was totally blown away by it. And now for the last few years, I've been working with Soundtrap, training teachers, getting them going, especially in musical applications.
Fantastic. Very good. Audrey, how about you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Audrey calling in from Maine today. We still have a little bit of snow left to melt. My background is in special education and early childhood education. I left the classroom in 2016 and have been with Soundtrap since that time as an education specialist like Taylor. And now he and I are working on building out the community and doing really fun work with teachers and students around the world. So yeah, this is our second summit. I'm so happy to be working with you on that, Matt, and can't wait to see what happens as a result.
Yeah. And so just like you mentioned, this is summit number 2. We did another one in the fall, which was fantastic and had lots and lots of really good speakers. And it was so much fun that we decided that we needed to do it again here in the spring. So Audrey, can you tell us just a little bit about that? Like what has changed, what's different between the 2 summits?
Yeah, so we were really inspired by the model that you had created where you invited keynote speakers, thought leaders, to come and have a sort of a panel discussion with you about best practices. And that was something that we wanted to recreate, and we knew we had to go virtual. And so we looked high and low and found some of the most remarkable speakers that could really lend their voice to a student voice, and how, audio recording and music making and storytelling could all add to that theme. And so we recorded, I think, 9 different videos, and the response from those videos was just so incredible. It was so exciting. We were really proud as a company, as an organization of what came from that. And that they were like, okay, you have to do it again. And you have to do it again in March. And we're like, Taylor and I teamed up and we're like, okay, we'll do it. And we were just originally thinking, all right, let's find 10 new speakers and do this all over again. But we paused because we're like, I don't know as though we got everything we needed to from that first round of speakers. Mm-hmm. And we also kept it very inspirational, and we didn't get too into like the practical details mm-hmm. and cases for how to use Soundtrap in those ways. So what we decided to do was look for 5 incredible practitioners that are actively using Soundtrap in their classroom and can really deliver that strong message. And then what we assigned, we chose 5 teachers that we'll introduce in a moment. And we assigned them each 2 of the sessions from summit number 1 and said, okay, now you need to pull themes and ideas and concepts that you learned from those 2 summit sessions, and teach teachers how you would use those themes and ideas in your classroom with your learners using the, audio recording power of Soundtrap. And they were like, okay, we're on it. You can count on us. And that's when they got to sit down with you. And it was, Taylor and I have been able to preview some of these sessions that you've created. And I have already cried a few times because I'm just so proud. And we are just, so that's the format of summit number 2. And our team is already predicting how successful and wonderful this is going to be, that they are telling Taylor and I, okay, be ready. You have to do summit number 3 in the spring. So summit number 3 will happen in May or June and be all about celebrating student work and teacher creations. And so we're already gearing up for that. So that's sort of our journey and our plan. And it's all about a series. And we're hoping to sort of start this series all over again in September and do this year after year. And it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And it's exciting because, I can't think of another, because I work with, educational technology companies and products and stuff like that. I can't think of anybody who's doing something exactly like this. This seems pretty unique. And I really like what you said about how we had that huge series of presenters in the fall, and there was so much to be had out of it. It's like, I don't feel like, we've totally finished that off yet. So it'll give everybody an opportunity to see some of that stuff again, but it'll also allow us to really dive into the practical applications of Soundtrap, which, there's some really cool stuff, but we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here. One of the neat things that we have going in this summit is that we're kicking things off with a keynote speaker. We had a really good first session for the last one that kind of served as a keynote, so to speak, but this time we've got like an explicit, this is the keynote speaker. This is going to set the keynote for the rest of the presentation. And so Taylor, tell us a little bit about Jarrett Scheel.
Jarrett, and I actually just watched the recording of his session, and it really inspired me and got me pumped up. And I'm really proud and just so glad that we can have him share the message that he's sharing. Jarrett is a professor of music at the Berklee College of Music. His topic is very wide ranging, and I think it just kind of covers so many relevant pieces of education in general, but also especially music education. And it was really important for us this time around to make sure that we're really speaking authentically to our audience of music teachers, because we know so many people watching and using Soundtrap are, of course, music teachers. And I think Jarrett really represents that well and makes some very pertinent points. So I can't rave enough about how awesome Jarrett's session was and how much I enjoyed listening to him. So yeah, that's a highlight for me so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a highlight for me to get to talk to him, leading up to the recording where I got to, do this session, this keynote session with Jarrett. I had lots of conversations with him, and I just everything he kept saying was resonating. And I don't want to spill the beans too much about it, but he talks about the importance of community, which I think is such an important thing right now as we're, slowly, hopefully seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic. And, there's been so much, social distancing has become a word and like a way of life sort of. And, understanding how we can build each other and support each other, but how we can also very intentionally craft and create those communities and set up norms and, create safe places and brave places, as he talks about in his session. And he so articulately just puts his finger on what it takes to build community. So really, like Taylor said, we wanted to speak specifically in many ways in this summit to music educators. But if you are a second grade teacher, this keynote is for you. If you are a math teacher, this is for you. If you are a PE teacher or a, 8th grade science teacher or whatever, this whole thing about building community is really something that will encourage you, I think, which I think was fantastic. So
Absolutely.
So that's the first one. That's kind of the kickoff. That's the keynote and everything. And just generally, as far as the 5 new speakers go, we've got some really great ones. So maybe I can just take a quick moment and introduce you to all of them, because I have gotten to speak with them so far, and it's been fantastic. So you're going to get to meet Andy Edwards, who is an instructional coordinator for fine arts, like it says on the screen there, but that just begins to scratch the surface of his experience within music. And he teaches at this fantastic school where they have access to lots of engineering equipment. And so he and his students have built a guitar, they've built an amp, they've built a microphone. And he talks about how whenever students get to learn how to use those things, or how they're put together and how they built and how they work, how it affects the music. So, you might look at that and go, oh man, building instruments, that doesn't sound like a music class, but really you're just learning about how music is made in a different way, so that it ends up affecting the end product. And so Andy's session was really fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. We also had Lafuji Alexander, and this guy really gets it as far as trying to engage with the students that he works with. So, he's come up with all of these fantastic ways, for instance, to bring like superheroes and supervillains into his music lessons. And Soundtrap is an integral part of all of that. And so his students are creating, and they're having a good time. They don't even realize that they're learning, because this whole, some of these like over the top themes, there are epic, I think they're epic rap battles or something like that. He's got some really good stuff that he shares in this session. Then we've got Stevie Frank, and this was fantastic, I thought, because Stevie isn't a music educator, but she has this fantastic way of using Soundtrap to help her 5th grade students create podcasts. And so this is something that's super applicable whether you're in music or not. And honestly, if you are in music, I think you'll find this a really good way to talk about what it is that you learn, because that's really what podcasts are all about. And she even talks about how her 5th graders did research by listening to podcasts, and then they interviewed experts. I mean, they were like legit podcasters by the time this was over with. And so you get some really concrete, practical ways to apply this in this session. Then we've got Sage River Satterfield, whose students do fantastic things with competitions. This is super cool. Like, you have some of those students who are sort of naturally wired to be competitive, but even with the ones that aren't, there are ways to draw them in and to get them engaged into learning music through competitions. And so this one gives you lots of really cool ideas related to all of that. And then we've also got Tyler Swick, an elementary music teacher. And Tyler's got such cool ideas for bringing in popular music into the classroom. So, students have their favorite music and their favorite musicians and the stuff that they listen to on their phones and everything. And if that stuff starts to show up in the music classroom, it adds this extra layer of engagement. And so Tyler tells you about how he brings that into the classroom and empowers really all of his students. You'll notice in his title, he's an elementary music teacher, and he's still doing this. So he's got some really cool ideas related to all of that. So we've got some really, really, really fantastic presenters, and we're really excited to have you get connected with these. So, and since Soundtrap is such an integral part of all of those sessions, everybody's showing and talking about how they use Soundtrap to do all of that. It seems like it's sort of a natural time now to talk about where Soundtrap is going, because it's evolved an awful lot recently, and it's headed in some really exciting directions, right, Taylor?
Yeah, and so we just wanted to share a couple of things we've worked on recently and a couple of points of where we're looking to for the future. So many people have probably noticed we recently enabled bulk sharing of assignments to be able to share to a group. Any of your Soundtrap groups, you can send directly to that group. Another thing was making some updates to the sign up and login flow to basically streamline and reduce some of the confusion around that. So hopefully when you go to set up your account and bring your students in, you'll notice that process is a little smoother. We've also enabled user import from an expired account, which is, again, probably doesn't affect everybody, but in some cases that could be a frustrating process. So we've made some improvements to that, as well as enhanced our stability and security overall. The share to group is now an option. Whenever you go to share an assignment, you'll have that button right there to share with a group. And then coming soon, we can't be too specific, but we've got a bunch of things in the works that we're planning. Basically, the main things are revolving around saving time for teachers to enable a better productivity and workflow and better organization for them. We're also trying to remove pain points, especially when it comes to students and classroom administration. We're definitely aware of some of the improvements that can be made, and we're working on those. That also goes along with the assignments, sharing assignments, how they can be shared, how they can be organized, and then also make sure to, make sure our tech platform can scale and is stable for all the new users that are joining and all the new activity that's going on there. So Audrey could tell us a little bit, or actually, it's pretty straightforward, but if you're curious about, or you want to make some suggestions and requests on what we could do in the future to kind of add to this list, you can follow this link right here to a place where you can submit a feature request. And that ties into our support community. That's a great place to go to make sure that you're being heard and we're aware of the issues that you're experiencing. Audrey, did you want to say anything else about that?
No, that was perfect. Beautiful.
Excellent. And so this is something new, switching back to the summit for a moment. This is something new that is very, very exciting, especially to a sketchnote geek like me, especially to, this is, I know, something that makes Audrey's heart very, very happy is that we are going to have some sketchnotes available for all of the sessions that you might watch. So Audrey, tell us a little bit more about that.
So I was super excited last summit, the first summit, when you provided PDF notes of each of the summit sessions. Teachers went bananas for that. I found it to be super, just inclusive and accessible, and it just gave teachers another resource to hold in their hands. So with this move to going virtual, I think that they also needed and craved like actual artifacts, other than just the videos. And so those PDF notes were so valuable. The certificates that we provide for an hour of PD after watching each session was incredible. And I thought, okay, we're sort of doing this again. How might we, appeal to another type of learner? We've got the videos and the PDF notes, and I thought sketchnoting. And Manuel is a really good friend of mine, and was super psyched to take this project on. So he went back to the archives and sketchnoted each of the previous sessions, and then we'll sketchnote each of the new sessions with the new Summit 2 speakers. And I just can't even. I just think this is so special, and it gives us another, what we're modeling for our users and our viewers, what exactly to do with your students, right? I just feel so good about the content that we're creating for our teachers and the message that sends to them, and how they might, sort of follow in our footsteps. And this just feels like a really special way to portray information in another way. And I'm so happy that we're doing this.
Yeah. And we've gotten to take a sort of a sneak peek at some of his work, and it is fantastic. I mean, you can tell just from that little, that little thumbnail of the sketch. If you look in the top left, he does these little, these little doodles of the faces of all of the presenters, and it's just like spot on every single time. He does a really fantastic job. So these are going to be really fun. I love that you can look at these sketch notes and you can look at the PDF notes, even if you don't watch one of the videos. So, you kind of like, if you're limited on time, you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to actually watch, and then go download all the other stuff from the other ones, and really come away with a lot of really great content. And then, of course, the other thing that's nice from the summit too, is that with each one of the sessions that you watch, you can get a certificate of completion for professional development credit that you can submit to your school or school district. So we like to try to provide as many resources for you on all of those as possible. So we're really excited about this. Like it's getting so close, and we're just right down to the end here. So any last thoughts for everybody as we wrap this up?
I'm just super excited, and I hope everyone will check it out and learn a lot and let us know what really resonates with you.
Yeah, and I only have gratitude to share with both you, Matt and Taylor, and then, of course, the beautiful speakers and presenters and sketchnoters. And I am so proud of this work and so proud of this company. And I will see you at Summit 2 and 3.
Yes, absolutely. And we are also super, super grateful for you for coming along on this journey for you. You know, we've been working really hard over the last several weeks, especially, but really for months to create something that's going to be meaningful to you, that lifts you up, that gives you practical ideas and inspires you. And so we're excited to get this kind of like out in the wild, so to speak, so that you can start watching. And we really, really do hope that this lifts you up. So here we go. We're getting ready to kick this thing off. So thanks again for watching, for being a part of the Soundtrap EDU Summit. We'll see you in those first sessions. Take care.